On January 6, 2021, Antifa members attacked Capitol Hill to prevent the Trump team from presenting the evidence of election fraud to the joint session of Congress. The mainstream media quickly blames Trump supporters for the violence. The scenes look so familiar, as if Antifa took a page out of the script of the Communist China. The dictators always create their narratives to smear freedom seekers. The essential elements of fake narratives are paid actors and propaganda. The following are examples of the CCP's staged violence in Tibet and Hong Kong. The CCP incorporated Tibet into the People's Republic of China in 1950. Because the CCP failed to keep its promise of freedom of religion, Tibetans walked along the street to protest in Lhasa in February 1989. According to Tang Daxian's report, to frame the peaceful Tibetans as thugs, the CCP's Armed Police Force Commander-in-Chief Li Lianxiu signed off a 5-point plan in the early morning of March 5th. The fifth point instructed 300 secret agents dressed in civilian and Buddhist clothes to set fire and loot stores. The subsequent events played out as scripted. The CCP successfully labeled the Tibetans as thugs. On March 8th, the CCP invoked martial laws as they desired and kept it for more than a year. The CCP applied the same formula to the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong in 2019. To protest against Beijing's interference in Hong Kong's legal system, 1 million Hong Kong people marched in the street on June 9th and 2 million on June 16th. The protests were peaceful and won worldwide support. The event took a turn on July 1st evening. Several protesters stormed the legislature despite hundreds of others trying to stop the violence. Police watched as the protesters smashed glass gates. After the gates were crashed, Hong Kong police suddenly retreated as if they wanted to let the protesters get into the legislature building. Hong Kong's local news agency, mostly controlled by the CCP, quickly called protesters rioters and praised the Hong Kong police. The Chinese government has arrested and disappeared thousands of Hong Kong people from the beginning of the protest to now. The storming of Capitol Hill on January 6th closely followed the CCP's operational plan to mislead public opinion. Sources disclosed that the violent group that broke into Capitol Hill was the well-organized Antifa. Freelance reporters investigated the leaders of the violent group, and they found that the person who broke into the Capitol was the same person who attended the Antifa riots. Even more, evidence showed that it was the police who guided the Antifa members into the building without any resistance. The mainstream media published headlines such as "Trump supporter organized the Capitol riot online." In fact, all evidence suggested that the violence was a well-played drama by the Antifa thugs and the forces behind them. No one would have imagined the scenes in Communist China could happen in the US. What can the American people do to stop their country from becoming Communist China? We should ask what dictators fear. Dictators are afraid of truths. That's why they're suppressing the truth by making up fake narratives and fake news. We believe creative Americans will find ways to keep the fire of truth going and spread it to burn the tyrants.